If you missed the first game, Tormented Souls was a heavily Resident Evil inspired survival horror experience, utilising the classic static camera angles, some slightly janky combat and a wealth of enjoyably ridiculous puzzles that, admittedly, sometimes made about as much sense as learning algebra with Japanese fridge instructions. It had its faults, but if you stuck with it, it was a decent ride for those of us who were there when Capcom's classic first shuffled onto the PS1. From what I've played of it so far, Tormented Souls 2 is a marked improvement in every area. Immediately it looks fantastic, from the cutscenes to the intricately detailed interiors of your new Hell on Earth, Via Hess in Chile, and a bizarre convent cum supernatural clinic. Once again, you play as Caroline Walker, guardian of her younger sister Anna, a hugely disturbed young lady suffering from nightmarish visions she scrawls manically on paper at regular intervals. There was hope that this giant creepy old house full of creepy nuns and creepy stuff was going to provide a cure, but guess what? When you're on the move, there are a certain number of things you can interact with, but you don't have to inch down every corridor, picking up every worthless mug and pencil looking for clues. Anything important is highlighted at the appropriate moment, and I never once felt lost or uncertain of where to go next. Everything in the game so far has been unveiled organically as a result of exploration, not by trying to remember 10 pages of bollocks from some knackered old wench's diary, complaining that her tits fell off on a certain date in the 19th century and that's the code to the door. There are passages of text to read here and there, of course, but they're almost always short and to the point. The enjoyably weird and often gruesome puzzles make a return, with several instances where you'll need to carefully examine and combine items. It's not every day you get to finish crucifying Jesus in order to access a key, but everything works well within the game's logic, and again, there's been nothing willfully obtuse so far. And then, inevitably, we have the combat. Your first significant weapon in the game, or at least the first in the demo I played, is a nail gun, which is nicely effective against the initial lesser horrors and hits with a greater punch and accuracy than just about anything that came to hand in the previous game. Spare ammo will glint at you from the cupboards and shelves as you progress, and I'm really looking forward to trying out the promised shotgun and the electric lance. When ammo runs dry, or if you just want to conserve supplies, you can also carry melee weapons like a crowbar on your hip. Rounding out the package, and with a final nod to its inspiration, are inventory management and saving your progress with a tape recorder in certain safe rooms, unless you play on the easier difficulty, which will save automatically at certain intervals. Rather than dumping items in a chest though, it appears that you'll need to decide whether to take or leave items on the fly. Thankfully, there does appear to be a lot more room to accumulate stuff this time around, and Caroline won't be denied carrying so much as a story-critical key, even if her trousers are groaning under the weight of several weapons and devices. Tormented Souls 2 will be released on the 23rd of October 2025 across PC, PS5 and Xbox Series. Traditional survival horror fans should definitely keep this blipping on their radar. I first took a look at Terrifier, the ARTcade game, some months back in a list of promising upcoming modern retro titles, and having now gone hands-on with the game, I can confirm that there is some nicely bloody throwaway fun to be had here for horror fans. Terrifier, the arcade game, will let you choose from one of 4 characters initially. I've only been able to try 2 so far, Art the Clown and Vicky, but you'll also get the little pale girl, Emily Crane, and Adam Burke upon full release. Each character has their own single button combo, a jump attack, grab strikes, a special activated by powering 3 sections of a meter during combat, and the headline act, the finishers. Dazed enemies on their knees will suddenly find themselves with a button prompt above their heads, which is your cue to do something enjoyably disgusting to them. In Art's case, that's taking heads clean off with a shotgun, while Vicky will launch a huge knife that gets lodged in a target's skull. These are fun to pull off initially, but do lose their impact across an entire level. The developers have promised that more will be unlockable throughout the game though, and hopefully these will cycle as opposed to only one being available at a time. I found Terrifier the arcade game to be at its best when it leans into the weapons and environmental options. The standard combos lack impact so far, and because you can't throw enemies during a grab, you can get stuck in the animation of punching them until you release, leaving you vulnerable to several approaching goons. But hammering someone with a spiked baseball bat or a police baton, then throwing a flaming barrel into his mate behind, can be a nicely fluid, satisfying experience. Add a variety of finishes on top of that, and then go on the rampage with a scavenged chainsaw, and fans of the film are going to be grinning like art in a college girl's shower block. Along with recent full-motion video hits like Erica and Immortality, and similar style games built in graphics engines like Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures anthology, Dead Reset might prove that there is some mileage in these once derided games, layering interaction on top of carefully curated segments to create meaningful player choice. Best of all, they can be enjoyed as a team of sorts in your living room, with everyone shouting out their answers to the choices the player characters are faced with. It's great for getting friends and family members involved who wouldn't know if they were holding a controller the right way up or not. As Cole Mason, you are a surgeon who is somehow caught in a cross between Alien and Groundhog Day, apparently doomed to be killed over and over again until he finally understands his predicament and has the knowledge and tools to escape. In the sequence I'm showing you here, Cole is being forced into removing a parasitic creature from a sedated patient. Initially you don't know who this person is, or any of the other people in the room for that matter, and you can only make choices based on gut instinct or how generous or mischievous you may be feeling. You might be lucky and see your way through the procedure, but most likely you'll get killed somehow and have to rely on your newfound knowledge for the next attempt. The game holds your attention because repeat scenes and conversations are never exactly the same. Cole's desperation or resignation is magnified with each new run, and the other characters react accordingly to your increasing knowledge and protests. In turn, the story arc shifts with your decisions. In total, Dead Reset features 8 chapters with more than 400 unique scenes. Even with the benefit of hindsight and careful decision making, it will take you at least a couple of hours to get to one of the 4 possible endings. And given the huge variety in the story options as things progress, it's very likely that you'll want to experiment with the game at least a couple of times. Dead Reset is more like renting a good B-film for an evening of popcorn entertainment than it is playing a game, and that's not necessarily the criticism it may sound. If you're looking to hide away from the trick-and-treaters on a cold Hallows Eve and fancy a laugh, get some friends over, snap open a few beers and fire this up.
Cole Mason, former surgeon at Westwood Hospital. You've been brought here to perform a surgery, and it is in your best interests to cooperate. Do you understand?
Haven't you already told me all this?
How much did you give him?
I gave him the usual dose. What dose? You've already said that.
Labyrinth of the Demon King does a great job in recreating the atmosphere of late 90s PC and PS1 first-person classics, while pumping the frame rate up and offering the kind of combat and puzzle solving that OG Resident Evil fans might appreciate. I got seriously addicted to this game in a way I really wasn't expecting. As a lowly foot soldier in a feudal Japanese army, your men were ambushed by the Demon King, and your commanding officer gave his life so that you could be the only man to escape. Fueled by a thirst for revenge, you decide to track this malevolent monarch down to his own castle, working your way through 4 separate towers, each with its own puzzles, enemies, weapons and a final boss, until you eventually confront the big bad bastard himself. The visuals look like footage recovered from an 80s camcorder, and it's a look that works well with the eerie characters and location. The sound design is excellent, with footsteps and raspy snarls echoing off the walls as you inch forward into the darkness, scuttles of nasty little creatures at your feet, and occasional cries for help somewhere in the distance. Along your journey you'll pick up a number of melee weapons, starting with a broken katana and working your way up through axes, spears, hammers and plenty more besides, and then there are the ranged weapons like bows and even guns. Certain weapons can also be purchased from the obligatory merchant weirdo who will be found lurking in a certain room in each area. Every strike needs to be considered, not least because it's tied to a stamina bar, making for some tense and admittedly initially tricky fights while you get a feel for your range. To help you out, you can dodge to the side quickly and kick out to give yourself some breathing space. You can also increase your health and stamina at a number of different shrines across the game if you've found some incense lying around to use as an offering. These shrines also act as your save points, and I was delighted to find that when you die, you still keep all of your progress and equipment you had on you when you fell, including weapons and story critical items. You don't have to retrace your steps for hours repeating the same puzzles, which is very much appreciated. I've had a lot of fun with Labyrinth for the Demon King. It's obviously unlikely to appeal to gamers who weren't playing in the late 90s, but in an age of open world slogs that feature maps splashed with endless hand-holding icons, the focus on tight, appropriately claustrophobic areas that you can fully learn and tackle at your own pace makes for an enjoyable change. I've got a decent little old school double header for all of us experienced gamers now who fondly remember playing the single screen classics like Donkey Kong and Bubble Bobble in the 1980s. We start with Trasmoz Legends, a game that completes a trilogy of similar titles that began all the way back on the ZX Spectrum. Unusually, the story is a little more than your usual get drunk and make it up fare here. Trasmoz is apparently a 13th century Spanish village beset by a curse initiated by the Catholic Church and sanctioned by Pope Julius II. As the unnamed hero, you are pursued endlessly by the evil sorcerer Mutamin across every level until you go one-on-one in the final boss fight. In practice, what this means is platforming around the screen, avoiding hazards like spikes and projectiles Mutamin throws around, killing enemies with your sword to uncover orbs of light, and using these orbs to reignite several candles. Once everything's lit again, you move on to the next stage. There are no power-ups or extra abilities in the traditional sense other than a suit of armour that you can find in chests if you've had your starting set knocked off you Ghosts and Goblins style, but there are score bonuses to be had if you're quick in lighting all the candles in a certain order. For the price of a single pint, Trasmoz Legends is a simple, brief, addictive delight, whether you're going for the highest score, the quickest run, or shouting at your partner in local 2-player. And then we have another little game which is coming to consoles and PC very soon at the time of recording, just in time for spooky season. Halloween 1985 works along similar lines to Trasmoz Legends, although this time you're collecting stolen pumpkins from one of 5 different areas, confronting, or more likely trying your best to avoid, several classic horror beasts like a mummy, Dracula and an evil clown. Things are a bit more challenging here, with no weapons and enemies that will track you and inadvertently lead you into the path of a boss character, resulting in a single hit death every time. But the colourful levels and the simple sense of fun are definitely going to appeal to 1980s arcade fans. Little touches like trying to take out the main character on each stage and collecting the pumpkins in a certain order for maximum score keep the addiction level high. If time is short and you want a quick blast on something, keep your eye out for this when it releases on the 29th of October. Forgive Me Father 2 is an HP Lovecraft boomer shooter and it feels great to play. This game has been around on PC for the last couple of years in various states and finally saw a release in September 2025 across the PS5, Xbox Series and Switch. Don't worry if you're not in any way familiar with the first game, I've never played it. This sequel doesn't demand any prior knowledge, and as much as there is a nicely twisted story that takes you through the priest player character's tortured mind, you're really here for the chunky, bloody shooting. Beginning in a cold asylum, the game will take you through 12 excellent and fairly expansive levels, packed full of increasingly tough zombies, monsters and other such indescribable nightmares, many of which will swarm you in great numbers and shoot at you with a variety of weapons. Very quickly you'll find a nicely impactful revolver, smashing the lesser creatures to pieces with a single shot. This is followed quickly by a meaty shotgun, grenade launcher, rifles and several more weapons besides. Once you have a new toy, you'll be keeping it for the entirety of your playthrough, and you can upgrade each weapon in a variety of unconventional ways between levels, spending tokens you find hidden around the environments. You can also carry up to 3 unlockable perks, both active and passive, ranging from a more reliable torch to damage resistance and ammo recovery. There's a good variety of level design on offer here, and even though the proceedings more or less follow the standard Doom template of looking for coloured keys in order to progress, the speed, scale and hunting down secrets keeps you invested and keen to see what they'll throw at you next. There are definitely some bugs in the PS5 version I've been playing. The frame rate is prone to dipping here and there, and at one point my game crashed completely. It doesn't happen all the time, and luckily the save points are so frequent that you'll rarely restart more than a few seconds away from where the problem occurred. I also noticed that there's been at least one patch since release, so hopefully the problems will iron out altogether very soon. Overall, you're getting a lot of game for your money here. I found exploring all the secrets and unlocking some truly weird but effective weapon mods to be very addictive, including replaying levels I'd unlocked to power my character up for when things got tougher later in the game. The impact of each weapon is enjoyably forceful, and watching enemies blow apart just doesn't get old. If you're a shooter fan who enjoyed recent games like Proteus and Warhammer Bolt Gun, check this out. I'd love to hear what games you'll be playing this spooky season. If you need any more ideas, I'll post a link to a video I did last year featuring another 6 modern retro treats that may interest you. Please leave me a like if you wouldn't mind, and I'll be delighted if you want to subscribe. Otherwise, enjoy your gaming, and I'll be back with you very soon with a lot more games new and old. Cheers for now.